all these things that teachers are going to have to negotiate whether they want to or not, and other people are framing what counts as professional for them. And so we need ways that we can help prepare teachers for the kind of politics that they're going to deal with as teachers if they're going to advocate for Black and Latino or low-income youth. It could be things that a racist comment that a colleague says to you. It could be something that's said in a department meeting. How does it make us either complicit or disruptive in the kinds of things that are going on right now in mathematics education? And so, for example, understanding how we even talk about identity or power when we name those things, and what do we mean by those terms, and what are the different interpretations, and what are the implications of those different interpretations. So I didn't always belong in mathematics education. I began my career with a degree in biology. And as long as mathematics continues to be a gatekeeper in society for the sciences, for full participation in a highly technological and information-based society, and as long as it's used to support warfare and economics oppressing other countries, my place is here. I had a professor, a major professor in mathematics education who was world-renowned, and I went to him to ask for a letter of recommendation. And he said to me very clearly, well, you're not going to have any problems getting a job with your last name, implying that somehow my research wouldn't carry any weight and that some university would be happy to take me to fulfill some diversity quota. So it was 15 years later when just this past January, we were at a math conference together, and the look on his face was incredible because he recognized that we were both giving plenary sessions at the same conference, and we were switching podiums. I was often asked what was the perspective of Mexicans. This question came to me a lot in terms of, well, what do Mexicans think about, and then you can fill in, about immigration rights or something. And I got to the point where I got so tired of trying to be a voice for somehow the Mexican community that was at school with me. Throughout my career, I've faced a number of challenges. I've had people who've told me that I don't belong in the academy, some outright, in the sense that you fill a quota. I remember conversations that I had with Thurman Hornbuckle, who was a leader in SACNAS and has since passed. He talked so passionately about the incredible effort that it took to keep balance in his work, trying to ask himself when he should listen to indigenous ways of knowing and how to communicate any of that with people in the lab. As a child, I was not Chicana enough for my sisters, who rebelled against a system that devalued our heritage. My research has been seen as not cognitive enough by mainstream mathematics educators, and therefore read as primitive. And at the same light, as a faculty member in Latino Studies, my work has been seen as too cognitive, read primitive. It's being the oppressor and the oppressed. So using Spanish to reclaim my indigenous roots, even while knowing that Spanish represents the very colonization of my ancestors. Being La Nahuala, I am a spy in graduate school, learning my opponent's conservative theoretical frameworks and methods so that I might counter them or use them against others at a later point. We know from science that in times of war, when men left their labs to women, new forms of chemistry developed. I think the most obvious examples for the everyday public is pioneers in behavioral science like Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey, who took new approaches to studying chimpanzees and apes. So while others were busy trying to be objective observers, they became the apes. They became the chimpanzees. The work of Gloria Anzaldúa, especially her notions of conocimiento and nepantla, have helped me to create a language to talk about different ways of conceptualizing knowledge in education. And while I'm not going to go deeply into what that means in terms of mathematics teacher education, I'm going to use the notion of nepantla to talk about our role here in SACNAS. So what is nepantla? Nepantla, I've been told, is also associated with a place of water. But what it means is a dream space. It's between realities. For Anzaldúa, who was a lesbian Chicana feminist writer, who was accepted by neither the Chicano community that typically outcasts gays and lesbians, nor by her white feminist scholars, she used this space to argue that it was a place to facilitate transformation. And by dominant, it's not changing. By dominant mathematics, I mean the mathematics that reflects the status quo in society, that gets valued in high-stakes testing and credentialing, that privileges a static formalism, and that is involved in making sense of a world that favors the views and perspectives of a relatively elite group.